A desert planet with twin suns.
Why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?
Use my knowledge. Much to learn. You still have.
What is up, folks, and welcome to Twin Sun Talks. I'm your host, Jonah Liu, and let me just say thank you so much for listening. I don't know who will be listening to this. It could just be my mom, and that's just fine. This is something that I've wanted to do for a while now, and I'm getting around to it, so I'm very excited about that. Just to clear this up right now, I am recording this in my college dorm room, so there is some background noise that I can't control, and I'm not good enough at audio editing to edit it out, so we're just going to roll with the punches right now. I don't know what I'm doing, and that's just fine. I'm learning as I go. So what is this channel for? So people tend to come to me for Star Wars knowledge, with Star Wars questions, for Star Wars advice, and I wanted a bigger platform to share my knowledge on. And standard disclaimer, my knowledge isn't nearly as extensive as some of these other people out here. I'm not trying to compete with them. That's not what this channel is. What this channel is for what I'm going to call regs, or casual fans, to bolster their knowledge. Or maybe you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, or a spouse, or a parent, or a child, or someone close to you who's really into Star Wars, and you want to be able to converse with them about it, but you have no real starting point for how to dive in, because the universe is so extensive and the lore is so complex and the lingo is very specific, and you don't quite know how to dive in. Well, I want to be that starting point for you. I want this podcast to be that starting point for you, and I want to be able to help y'all ease into and eventually become very well acquainted with the Star Wars universe. So I have 6 different segments that I'm going to be throwing at y'all, not in every episode, but there are 6 different segments that I'm going to have within this podcast, and I'm just going to run through those real quick. So the first segment that I have planned for this is called ARC Trooper Training.
Gentlemen, who wants to be an ARC Trooper? I do, sir!
So what ARC Trooper Training is going to be is essentially me talking at y'all lecture style about a given Star Wars topic. This is what's going to make up a bulk of what this podcast is going to be. It's just going to be me going onto a deep dive about a Star Wars concept or a Star Wars topic. I'm going to be doing a comprehensive history of the Jedi, a comprehensive history of the Sith. I have a lot of stuff lined up, and y'all can always feel free to give me feedback on what you do like to hear, what you don't like to hear. I want to cater this to y'all, because this podcast is for y'all. So my second segment that I have planned for this is called Visions.
To continue, we need one singular vision. My vision.
So what Visions is going to be is essentially a theory segment, or a speculation segment. Essentially me saying, I think that this is going to happen in the future. I hope that this is going to happen in the future. I think this could have been a thing that they planted in this movie, and it's going to pay off in this episode. It's basically, it's my opinions on what I think are going to happen moving forward. The next segment that I'm going to be talking at y'all with is called I've Got a Bad Feeling About This.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I'm very excited about this segment. What this is going to be is a rant segment where I go off on all of my grievances towards the Star Wars franchise. Don't get me wrong, it is my favorite movie franchise. It has a very special place in my heart, and I love it very dearly. But there are a lot of things that I get very heated about, and I really cannot wait to rant to y'all about those things. The next segment that I have planned is called The Rank of Master.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
So I'm only going to have this segment whenever I have guests on the show, and what it's going to be is essentially me giving them a pretty grueling quiz over some obscure Star Wars topics, and if they get a certain grade, I will grant them the rank of Master, and if they do not, I will have to tell them to take a seat, young Skywalker, and if you don't understand that reference, don't worry, because once I'm done with you, you will understand that reference. I promise you. So, the next segment that I have planned for this is called I Have Spoken.
I have spoken.
This is going to be my review segment, where I go into any new source of media that comes out that I have encountered and want to share with y'all, whether it's a show, a movie, a book, any of that good stuff will be in this segment. And don't worry, I will make sure to put ample spoiler warnings before the segment happens, because the last thing I want to do is spoil a cool thing for y'all. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, so I will make sure to not do that. And the final segment that I am planning on throwing at y'all is simply called More. I'm planning on putting this at the very end of every episode, and essentially what it's going to be is just a little fun fact about Star Wars. Something that I don't think is going to come up in any of the topics that I'm going to discuss, but something that I either find interesting or something that is just so obscure and interesting that you'll be able to wow your Star Wars friends with such knowledge. So, yeah. That's all for the segments, and what I'm going to do now is give a very brief profile of myself as a Star Wars fan. So I'm going to do these profiles whenever I have someone on the show as well, and basically it's just 4 questions. It's what's your favorite movie, what's your favorite character, and what's your favorite show, along with if you could have a lightsaber, what color would it be? And you can go as in-depth or as superficial as you would like to go with these questions. So first off, my favorite movie is Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. And this is slightly controversial because it is a part of the prequels, which were generally not well received at the time that they were released. And I don't know where y'all are in y'all's knowledge of Star Wars. I don't know if y'all have watched the movie, so just in case you haven't, I don't want to spoil it. But all I will say is it is such a beautiful and heartbreaking movie, and it, in my opinion, is the perfect culmination of George Lucas's Star Wars universe. And it has fantastic visual effects, and I think that it is just the perfect end to an amazing tragedy that George Lucas started with A New Hope. My favorite character is Mace Windu, because who doesn't love Sam Jackson? But in all seriousness, he was my favorite character because as a kid growing up, my favorite color was purple, and he was the only character in the movies that had a purple lightsaber. He also has a very cool lightsaber fighting style, which I will get into in a later episode. And all around, he's just a cool character. I mean, what's not to like about him? He's kind of the second in command behind Yoda. Like, who wouldn't love Mace Windu? He's kind of a jerk, so I understand why people wouldn't like him, but he's still my favorite. My favorite show is The Clone Wars. Now, this was a tough decision to make because The Mandalorian is amazing, but my enjoyment of The Mandalorian comes from my appreciation for Clone Wars, I think. Not in full, but I think that The Clone Wars helps me appreciate The Mandalorian even more. And also, The Clone Wars is my childhood. It has some of the best storytelling in Star Wars. It adds so much amazing depth to so many characters that we didn't get to learn much about in the movies. And in my opinion, it really enhances the prequels. And I could honestly watch it on a loop if I wanted to. I kind of already do with my brother, but, that's neither here nor there. And kind of like I said before, if I could have any lightsaber color, I would choose purple because, 1, it's my favorite color. 2, I think that the meaning behind it is pretty cool because it represents a balance between the light side and the dark side. And it is also fairly unique. And I don't want a normal blue or green or red lightsaber. I think that's kind of boring. Alright, so enough about me. Let's get into our first segment of ARC Trooper training.
Gentlemen, who wants to be an ARC Trooper? I do, sir!
What is up, folks? Welcome to ARC Trooper Training. Today, I'm going to be talking at y'all about the best way to enter the Star Wars universe, how to watch the movies, how to watch the shows, what order you should watch them in, how much of it you need to watch. That is what today is for. So I'm going to start with the movies because those are the first things you need to watch, hands down. The shows are a bit more of a commitment, and I think that the shows tend to enhance the movies more than the other way around. But as far as the movies go, watch them in the order that they were released. Do not watch them chronologically. That would be the advice that some people give you. I say if you've watched them before and you have a pretty good grasp on the universe and you want to watch them again, go for it. Watch them chronologically. But if this is your first time or you're not super acquainted with it, watch it in the order that it was released. That means watch with the ones starting in 1977 and go until 2019. So the order is a little confusing because it technically starts with episode 4, so I'll go off of the names. So you're going to start with A New Hope, then go to Empire Strikes Back, then Return of the Jedi, then Phantom Menace, then Attack of the Clones, then Revenge of the Sith, then Force Awakens, then Rogue One, then The Last Jedi, then Solo, and then Rise of Skywalker. And trust me, this flow, even though you jump around timeline-wise, it won't hinder you at all. And I think that it will maximize your enjoyment of these movies. So after you finish the movies, I say go to the shows. And the first show you should watch would be Clone Wars. Now with 7 seasons, Clone Wars is pretty daunting. But I have a plan for that. I have put together a roadmap through the Clone Wars where I essentially pick out what episodes you need to watch, what episodes are cool but not necessary, what episodes could be helpful but aren't necessary, and what episodes just flat out you don't need to watch. And that's what the next 2 episodes of this show are going to be, is my roadmap through all 7 seasons and the movie of the Clone Wars, just to help you navigate that world a little bit better and hopefully get you more excited to watch only the best parts of this amazing, amazing show. Now, if you really wanted to get a full, extensive knowledge of the Star Wars mythos, I would say watch Star Wars Rebels. It has a lot of great content, but it also has a lot of filler, and it is very slow in some places. It would help you understand some nuances in The Mandalorian, and it has some payoff from some stuff in the Clone Wars, but it's, I would say, not fully necessary for you to have a really strong enjoyment of this franchise as a whole. If you want to watch it, I wouldn't discourage you, but I wouldn't say it is fully necessary. Now, after you've watched Clone Wars, and if you want to, Rebels, watch The Mandalorian. This is such an amazing show, and it makes my heart so happy. And it was hard to put Clone Wars ahead of this. It really was in my favorites list, but it had to happen because, like I said, Clone Wars and Rebels really enhanced my enjoyment of this show. And while it does stand on its own fairly well, I would watch all the stuff that I've listed previously to maximize your full enjoyment of this show. And honestly, this show makes me so excited for Star Wars projects moving forward, and I can't wait to see what new content comes out. Don't ask me about Forces of Destiny or Resistance. Those are 2 other animated shows, and I know nothing about them. I don't plan on watching them. I don't know. They don't grip my attention like the other shows do. That being said, my knowledge of the sequel era, which is the most recent 3 movies that came out, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker, that era I'm not super well versed in. If y'all want to learn about that era a bit more, I'm happy to bolster my knowledge on that. Just let me know. But my knowledge of canon is primarily confined to what I call the Lucas eras, which is the prequels and the the original trilogy. Sorry, it's early in the morning and I'm a little out of it, but I'll get sharper, don't worry. Okay, and to wrap things up, let me hit y'all with my first ever segment of More. So today I'm going to be talking to y'all about Wookiees. They're the big walking carpets. They're Chewbacca's species. They are awesome. So they are native to a planet called Kashyyyk, and they speak an unintelligible language of grunts and roars known as Shri Wook. That is all I have for today. That was a fun little tidbit that I didn't know when was going to come up, so I wanted to just throw that at y'all right now, because why not? So that's all I have for this episode. Thank y'all so much for sticking with me. I know that it's not perfect, but I will be figuring this out, and I'll be streamlining it a little bit. But yeah, congratulations, because you have taken your first steps into a larger world. May the Force be with you, and I will see you in the next episode, friends. Bye now.